Hello, my name is Lamarcus, and I am presenting here today on behalf of Aim Ahead. It is my pleasure to introduce you to the histograms and bar plot in this session. Histograms and bar plots are both used with continuous or numerical data. However, with a box plot, you can also incorporate a categorical variable. So what will we be talking about in this session? We will first provide an overview of histograms. Next, we will demonstrate how to prepare the data to construct a histogram in the example that we will be utilizing. After this, we will show you how to prepare a histogram in R. And finally, we will end up telling you about the box and whisker plot and showing you how to construct it within R Studio. So a little more on the histogram. A histogram uses bars to represent the frequency of data points within specified intervals, making it ideal for understanding the shape, spread, and central tendency of numerical data. It's particularly useful for identifying patterns like skewness or multimodal distributions. In this session, we'll be looking at the distribution of body mass index across the US population. In this example, we only require 3 packages. We will be utilizing the data from the Medical Expenditure Panel Survey that we have been using as an example throughout this module. Of course, by now you realize that ggplot is included within the tidyverse package. The code to produce a histogram in ggplot features the geom histogram argument, where whenever we execute a histogram on our current data set, we're able to see that many of the values are aligned with a negative BMI. We realize that this does not make sense, so we can filter the data set to only include positive values. After we repeat the histogram on our filtered data set, we are able to see that there are no more negative values. Overall, the distribution appears to approximate a normal distribution. Now, what we would like to consider is if we may customize the appearance of the histogram. We can utilize several features that we have introduced before to refine the histogram. In this example, we have elected to choose an alternative fill color and produce colored outliers for the rectangles. We are also able to add a label to the x-axis and control the spacing of the intervals on the y-axis. Of course, feel free to refer to the HTML file included for the exact coding. Now let's move to the box plot. Box plots are sometimes called box and whisker plots, summarize data through 5 key statistics: the minimum, the first quartile, the median, the third quartile, and the maximum. They excel at comparing distributions across multiple variables or categories, highlighting outliers and variability. They can also be used when we have one continuous variable and one categorical variable. In this example, we will be utilizing 2 variables. Body mass index is a measure of weight that is standardized to take into account a person's height. In this data set, we will also be looking at region, which represents the section of the United States that an individual is from. The coding for a box plot is fairly simple within R Studio, especially whenever using ggplot. We have to provide inputs for the x and y variables. Our y variable is a numerical variable, and the x variable is a categorical variable. For the geom statement, we use box plot. In this example, this produces 4 boxes representing the distribution of BMI, one for each region of the country. Now, let's look at what the various elements of the box plot represent. The box represents the interquartile range, which is where half of the data points lie, specifically those within the middle 50% of the data. The line within each box indicates the median, which represents the middle value. The whiskers represent those data points which are outside the middle 50% of values, yet are not considered to be outliers. And finally, any points outside the whiskers are considered to be outliers. So let's quickly summarize what we have learned. The histogram is an excellent choice for examining the distribution of a single continuous variable. We can produce this type of graph with ggplot by using the geom histogram statement. The box and whisker plot is to be used when we have one numerical variable and one categorical variable in order to assess the central tendency, dispersion, and outliers. In order to plot this within ggplot, we use the geom box plot. So this concludes this session. Once again, it is my pleasure to share a little insight about box plots and histograms with you if you are to conduct some type of exploratory statistical analysis. You will find that you will utilize these particular graphs on a routine basis. As usual, we have hands-on exercises for you in Codio, and I wish you a nice remainder of your day on behalf of Aim Ahead.